What's up, dude?
How's it going?
Dude, you look so good. I just gotta point that out. So yeah, man, what's your plan? You had an idea, so let's hear it.
Well, we're going to give our own personal game awards after the game awards last week.
I have to tell you, I didn't watch them.
Well, I mean, it was like 4.5 hours, and there was a lot of fluff built in, so
Okay.
it wasn't. I mean, like, yeah, you could definitely just like watch the highlights. It was fun though. There were some good moments, but
Hmm.
yeah, not many people. I don't know too many people who can carve out 4.5 hours for
Right.
video game awards and advertisements. So.
Yeah, I didn't watch them. I mean, I obviously knew they were going on. I just didn't. I was doing other stuff. I was watching or listening to Halo stuff this week, and
Right.
so how do you want to do this? I made a little list today after you mentioned it. So I don't know if you just want to kind of go back and forth or what were you envisioning?
Yeah, we have kind of, can throw out our category and we can talk about, what games we thought did really well there or our favorite games or,
Okay,
uh,
I like it. I like
yeah,
it. So those of you tuning in, thank you. Welcome to True Nerds. We are on podcast number 6.
number
I
6.
think this is 3 weeks in a row finally, or is this
We're
two?
back on. Nope,
I can't
three,
remember.
because
Three.
last
Okay.
week was two in a row.
Yep. I
Um,
like it. So
we
I'm
didn't have drill this week, so we're both refreshed and
right.
ready to go.
Yep. Yep. So I'm Kavzi, and who are you?
I'm Drolly.
Here we are. So you can hit it off, man. Let's hear it.
All right. So game awards, obviously we got to start off with some different subcategories and build our way up. But
Okay, I wasn't prepared for this, so you might catch me off guard. But all right, let's
that's
get it.
fine. So yeah, we'll you can take some time and figure out uh, what games you thought, or we can get some good discussion in.
Okay,
But
I like it. I'm excited.
yeah. So I guess starting off, what's your first brand new IP game this year that just you thought did really well, entered into the market?
This is an easy one. Chernobyl Lite.
All right.
Super easy. That came right to my mind. So I know you didn't play it, but I talked to you about it. I talked to a few people about it. Chernobyl Lite is it is a first person survival slash horror slash RPG. So it's a essentially it's a genre of its own. It takes the better things from games like Stalker. You have building elements like Fallout 4, base building elements. You have stats like any RPG out there, and then you have the horror element, which is brought into the survival element too. So it takes from a lot of other games. It's not super. It's definitely a double A game, maybe a little even lower, but I had so
Okay.
much fun in it. I think it was very unique. They built a lot of hype into it with the trailers, and the trailers kind of kept you guessing on what kind of game it was. But the minute I sat down and played it, I had to finish it. So that is definitely my number one indie game. I had some gripes with it towards the end. They forced you to beat the campaign a specific way. But other than that, I played it in early access. They actually gave people who purchased the game in early access a discount, which is always appreciated. So I think I only paid $30 and I got like 40 hours out of the game
Wow.
itself. The developers were awesome. I had a glitch. I messaged the developers on Steam. They said, "Hey, send me a video link to what's going on," and they actually gave me a solution to it. So that's
Wow.
amazing. They responded within 1 hour too. Um,
That's impressive.
I can't think of the developer's name right off the top of my head right now, but they also are the same company that works on World War III, which is a battlefield type shooter. So it's massive, open world, force on
Yeah.
force type shooter.
Right.
Um, they also, whoever bought in early access, they gave DLC for free.
Oh,
So
really?
it was just a
Wow.
win 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 for me.
Yeah.
Super super great game. If
I mean, that's just like a cool thing, rewarding your players for getting in early access.
mhm.
It feels like you are, supporting that company and getting in early. helping them out through some kinks, and they're going to pay you back and reward you, instead of treating you like their cash cow,
Right.
which is awesome to hear.
Yeah, I don't know how big the developer is. I know this is one of their first few games that they have released on Steam. Obviously, if you're dropping a game that's only $30, I consider that indie in my eyes, 100%. But yeah, where are you at with it?
I'm gonna go with Kenna, Bridge of Spirits.
That is actually one of the games on my list of need to play from this year. So let's hear about is it Kenna or Kina? I think we go back and forth
Kina, I
on
think.
this
Yeah, I think
one.
it's
Who cares?
or Kenna. Yeah,
It's a good game. That's
just like coming out of like nowhere, brand new developer, was previously an animation kind of studio, and like no bugs to the game, which is always like really
rare.
impressive, like coming like right out of the gate. It was, $30 or $40 game, so like, that it kind of reflected like, they might not have all the features or multiplayer and campaign or a extra long campaign plus or anything, new game plus or anything like that, but just a phenomenal, beautiful looking game. Just took you on this like great story. Haven't finished it yet, but just knocked it out of the park, and absolutely love that game.
I watched some reviews on it. ACG's really the only guy that I listen to for reviews because he's so honest. He's brutally honest. Even if he likes a game, he finds negatives in it, and he brings it up to the community.
Right.
He was in love with it. The graphics were beautiful. The difficulty was it was a difficult game actually. Those of you, or if you talk to anyone who's played it later on in the campaign, it actually gets difficult. So because it looks like a child's game,
Right.
and then also you're getting your ass whooped while you're running around with these little Furby things. But I do want to play that game. That is on my list. I actually wrote down a 2021 want to play. My list is unfortunately kind of long, but I like it. Yeah, that's a good pick. I think we both need to play. So I need to play Kina or Kenna, and you need to play Chernobyl Lite. Actually, I don't think you'd like Chernobyl Lite. It's not really up your alley. I think you would like a little bit of everything, but I think you would get kind of bored because it is very open world like, and you don't like the survival aspects. I know that. So
Yeah. Can definitely respect those games that do a really good job with that stuff, and obviously there's a genre and a market for it, but yeah, I just like don't personally enjoy a lot of those aspects. There are things of games that I generally don't like, but as long as they do other things really really well and they can pull me in a different way, then I can find some enjoyment out of them. But yeah, a lot of times it's I'll start playing, I'll be like, oh, I like it, and just not finish it.
Right. Which is fine.
In,
I mean,
yeah.
you at least get a respect for the game and know it's a good game.
Sure.
All right, so let's
all right, all right, you give us a category now.
Okay, let's I don't know if you hit this one. You probably didn't hit this. Let's do platformer.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't know if you you did play platformer. I don't know if it came out this year though.
I do play platformers. Trying to think. Kenna Bridge of Spirits is kind of a platformer.
Okay.
There's a lot of traversal through the different area that is very much platforming aspects to the game. Destiny's a platformer, and it's different aspects.
No, you're reaching here.
Are you kidding me? There's a platforming space in every raid and every dungeon, but it is a little bit reaching for Destiny to be a platformer. Trying to think of what else I played this year.
Did you play the Mario 3D World plus Bowser's
I did.
Fury? Was that this year? Was that this year?
Yep, that was this year.
So that's probably your game.
For sure. That definitely wins it for me this year. I did go back and finally beat Super Mario Odyssey. We had talked about that I had started it and got a good 70-80% of the way through, and then just got busy with life and other things, and always meant to go back to it. And I'd pick it up every once in a while and try and play for 15 minutes and kind of couldn't always remember where I was. But this year I dedicated time in early, I think it was like February, March time frame. And I was just, I'm going to beat this
You know,
game. Um,
I
and it
think we
was,
both beat it because I went back and beat it because I did the same exact thing you did.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, and if I could give it to that game, even though it launched
year
5 years
yeah,
ago now.
launch of the Switch launch.
Yeah, I would. But really excited to see what they keep doing with that. And obviously, all of Nintendo's Mario games are very good.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Three, yeah. So Odyssey is amazing. 3D World and Bowser's Fury was amazing. I didn't beat it. I actually didn't play Bowser's Fury yet, but I played 3D World.
yeah, 3D World was fun. It can get very challenging, and in some parts you almost need two people, but in
Mm-hmm.
other parts, two people makes it harder. And so I played through with a couple other friends who were also playing through it as well. And it got to kind of to a point where I was just kind of like watching them play through. They were kind of like a couple, and like that was their game. So
Yeah, which is fine.
I watched them beat it, and it was
Mm-hmm.
like a ton of fun. But yeah, there were some parts extremely difficult game, and so you needed like to bounce off that other person to get up to like a next stage or a certain part. But then other parts like you're trying to compete for the same platform or area, that could kind of like get in your way. So,
Right. Yeah.
but overall, like really long, or like it gave you like a ton of different levels and content, and very good game.
Yeah, I haven't beat it yet. I probably got like 6, 7 hours into it, but phenomenal game. I'm going to give it to Psychonauts 2, hands down. Best one of my top games of the year. I'm
Yeah,
not.
yeah, that was that didn't win really any awards at the Game Awards, but that was nominated almost in every category. It was
Mhm.
nominated for Game of the Year, music, direction. Um, yeah, so definitely, I think I'm gonna have to play those games. That's gonna be on my need to play list for sure.
Yeah, What is that noise? Sorry.
I was tapping my feet.
Yeah, I was like for the last 30 seconds. I'm like, what is that? Um. So Psychonauts 2, I'm not huge into platforming. Like, I play them, but I don't go out of my way to purchase them. Oh, that drink looks amazing. Um, Psychonauts 2 was hands down my second favorite game of the year.
Wow.
The story was phenomenal. The platforming made me want to keep playing the game, and I don't even really like platforming that much. The collectibles, amazing. The side quests were amazing. Everything about that game was thought out, down to the most um, minuscule part of the story or the area you're in. It was so good. It was so good. They lead you into the game. Even I never played Psychonauts 1, but I know that was that's a cult classic. Everyone's obsessed with that game that did play it. They backed up the story. They kind of they filled you in before the game even starts, so you're not lost. And that game, just every single night I'd get on, like, I need to play at least an hour or something. You need to play that game, even if you're not into platforming. You need to play that game. It is so good, and it's a decently long game. I think it took me 20 to 25 hours, but I did some side quests, side collectibles, and whatever, and then in an awesome fashion. Once you beat the game, you still can go back and do a bunch of collectibles or whatever. So, Psychonauts 2, it's free. It's free on Game Pass. That's crazy. I played it in 4K. Computer ran it great. It was absolutely beautiful. It's a cartoonish looking game. It's kind of that crayon color looking style,
Mm-hmm.
art style. But yes, that hands down one of my favorite games of the year.
Yeah, definitely. Both Psychonauts and Psychonauts. You played both this year, didn't you? You went and beat the first one and then went to the second one,
No,
or
nope. I never
just did the
played
second one?
the,
Oh, you
ev-
never played the first one.
Everyone said the first one is a little rough because it is so
Oh,
old. I
gotcha.
mean, it's original Xbox.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
I did not know that.
I
Okay,
never.
so this was like a big, like,
It's been years.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. Well,
So
then, yeah, Psychonauts 2 will definitely be on my need to play list here.
Yeah, I could even replay
All
it. Um,
right, next one. Let's do favorite Nintendo Switch game of the year.
that's a tough one because I bought a lot of Switch games this year,
I know I did as well.
and it's hard because one of my favorite games on there is not that good on the Switch.
Hmm.
So, I'm trying to think what else I've bought this year that would have released this year. I think the only games I've played this year were, older games from last year. Like I
Which
bought
that's fine. It doesn't have to be
a release
strictly
this year.
released this year. Yeah, well, just like like mentioning,
Okay.
like what were you playing this year? What impacted you this year on the
So,
Switch?
I went through a lot this year. Actually, I played Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition for a while. Great game, too long, um, too drawn out. I guess I should say that there is such thing as too long, but that was too drawn out. Um, I played Super Mario 3D World. That's what it's called, right? Pretty sure that's what it's called. What we were just talking about, East 9, and that's the game I was talking about. It's a
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal game, but looks like shit on the Nintendo Switch.
Mm-hmm.
And the company is known for not spending. It's Falcom. They make amazing hack and slash action RPGs, but they are not known for making beautiful graphics, which is fine. But when you're talking non-beautiful graphics on like the PS4 or PC, and
Yeah,
then you port it to the Switch, it was
which
a
can't
release.
run
It
it.
was
Yeah,
right.
right.
The game overall was amazing. I actually did stop though, and I think I put 20 hours into it, and then I'm gonna restart on the PC because I actually liked the game that much that
Okay,
I wanted to play it on the PC.
for sure.
So I would say East 9 was my most impactful game this year, that I actually want to continue to play. We already talked about Fire Emblem and my love for Fire Emblem kind of getting resparked.
Mm-hmm.
No pun intended with the fire and the spark, but I'd say East 9. So that the history of those games. Um, Actually, we can talk about East Origins too. East Origins was a older game on the Game Boy on PC,
Oh, wow.
and I can't remember what Game Boy it was, but East Origins, a top-down dungeon crawler action RPG. Phenomenal game. I played on the Switch. They ported it over or re-released it, I guess, and they didn't touch the game at all. But now it's just on the Switch. So East Origins is actually in the timeline of East. It's not the oldest game, but in the timeline, it is the first story about
Okay.
East. And when I say East, it's YS and then colon and then whatever number you're on. So East Origins was phenomenal. East 9, super good. So I'm gonna definitely go play that. What about you?
Awesome. So this year I played on the Switch. I played Super Mario Odyssey. I played um, the Super Mario 3D World. I played. I went back and I did play Zelda Breath of the Wild. I gave it a second chance, and then I kind of took a break for a little bit, but played a crap ton of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Pokemon.
Yeah.
So I think most fun and enjoyable to me would be Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Just like finally, like top down classic style Pokemon game on
Mm-hmm.
the Nintendo Switch. I've been just waiting for it for how many years has the Switch been out now? 5 or 6 years now. They talked about doing the first year the Switch was out, a Pokemon game with shit. Oh,
Camera
we're gonna
just
have
went.
to. Yeah, this is gonna be an issue.
What happened? Just timed out.
It, yeah, it only goes for like 30 minutes and then it like power saves mode, and
Uh,
that's the longest I can have it set to.
Welcome back.
Yep, we're having some technical difficulties.
Again, that's okay.
uh, always.
Everyone
um,
comes here for the amazing
technical
technic. Yeah,
difficulties.
exactly.
We've got the best. We got your
Hmm.
technical difficulties. We got them in
Yep.
red and white.
Yeah, that's right.
um, so they did Sun and Moon, and then for the 3DS, and then they were going to do Stars for the Switch. So because like they had just launched Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon for the 3DS, and then the Switch came out, and they were going to port that game, the like third version of that game, to the Switch. But then the Switch's sales were absolutely incredible, and they came off. They had Super Mario Odyssey, and it had Breath of the Wild, and they're like, oh, we don't need a Pokemon game to move consoles. It's selling perfectly fine, so they canceled that and then moved in straight into development on Sword and Shield, which were very ambitious Pokemon games. Did some things right, but um, where they definitely went in a couple different directions. It was like one of those things where like they wanted to move the franchise forward, but they also wanted to play it really safe at the same time. And it kind of like ended up like not being the best of either of the worlds.
Yeah. So
So they were like caught in like, trying to do
that awkward
more.
space.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
But
when they were talking Sword and Shield, I was watching it and I'm like, oh, that's really cool because they're actually going to do like the full open world and you
mm-hmm.
can see the Pokemon and this and
Yep.
that. And then when it
You
released,
find out, yeah, it's
yeah,
only in this zone,
right.
which
Which,
was cool,
mm,
but it just was like, oh, they were trying to bridge this like classic portion of the game with this like new portion of the game of the wild zone, and so it was limited, and it just like didn't they didn't really execute it the greatest. And it was online though, and you could like run around with your buddies in the wild zone, which was cool, and you could
yeah,
do like raids together and stuff, which was pretty ambitious. But if you connected to the wild zone on the internet, you started getting frame drops like crazy. It was, well, it wasn't like bad, but it was like you could tell it was way choppier
just chugging.
versus like your smooth 60 or whatever it was before that. So definitely that portion, I don't know if they were ready for that kind of ambition. But overall, like Sword and Shield were decent games, and the expansions were fun. But I really like the direction they're going now, where they are going to make a classic game, kind of like a remake, or I hope they continue on this direction, like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, where it's more of a one-to-one remake, just kind of ported on the Switch, add a couple new things. And then they're coming out with a new game in January already, even though they just released in the previous one in October, Legends Arceus, which is going to be open world a hub based kind of open world, and
Mm-hmm.
it will be pretty much all like the Wild Zone was, where there's just Pokemon roaming around, and then but you actually have to like physically walk up and like throw a Pokeball at them to catch them, and then they'll attack you, so you have to dodge. And so it's going to be
Right.
there'll be this like skill tree, and you'll make your own Pokeballs, and it's going to be very much like a more modern RPG versus an older
Mm-hmm.
top-down Pokemon RPG. So I really like how they can branch it out, and if you don't like the new stuff, then they're still releasing old remakes for you.
Right. Which is
But they're also going to try and progress the franchise forward and do new things to try and keep some of that adult audience, but still appease maybe some of the either younger crowds or nostalgia people. So really like that direction they're going with. But so Brilliant Diamond, a lot of fun. If you're a Pokemon fan, great game. If you're not, I don't think it's really like a must play or anything like that. But I just checked and I have 60 hours
that's
into
right.
Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl.
That's
So
right.
I haven't played like that much of a Switch game in like a small
Forever.
chunk of time like that. Yeah, feels
Yeah.
great. I'm actually like using the Switch as it was intended. I
Mm-hmm.
dock it and play it on my big screen. I pull it out and like we're in the car traveling somewhere, the wife and I'm playing it there. It's awesome. It
It,
feels really good.
it feels so good when you do that because, like, when I was talking about being in the hotel room a couple weeks
Yep.
ago, just actually playing handheld mode, finally,
Mm-hmm.
that was the first time besides, 20 minutes here or there, like once a month or something, where I got an itch to play a game. It's actually
Yeah.
really nice to feel like you're getting your money's worth out of it, because half the time I'm like, I don't, unless it's a first party Nintendo game, I don't give a shit. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the type of person who buys ports, that I could play on my
PC.
PC or my
Yep.
Xbox.
Yep.
Um, all right, so you kind of just talked. I'm gonna go and say that your number one RPG was Pokemon this year. Um,
Yep.
would you agree?
I would agree.
Okay. I'm actually surprised you didn't talk about Monster Hunter Stories 2.
Oh, yeah.
Forgot about
That
that.
I did too, actually. And I was
Yeah.
actually just reaching over to like pull out my Switch and be like, what game, just let
Yeah.
me, I want to go with like one more, like all the way through. What games did I actually play
Mm-hmm.
this year? Um, I'm going to give that game my RPG game of the year.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
the Switch game, like Switch, I played more Pokemon. I put more hours into it, but there's a lot of nostalgia there for it
Right. Yeah.
versus Monster Hunter Stories 2. Wow, I can't say enough. I need to go back and finish that game. I think I have a good 15, 20, no, like 15 hours into that game so far. But it's been slow and I've been taking my time, so I'm not super far into the campaign, but um, they did a lot to that game, and I really hope Pokemon can take some of what they're trying to push that genre in and
Mm-hmm.
incorporate some of it, like fully voiced audio for main story cutscenes. The attack animations are like small cutscenes. So like when you pull out an attack or like a bigger attack, your monster jumps up and does a kick or comes crashing down, or you do their ultimate move and there's this massive explosion. And playing Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, each Pokemon just kind of stands there like a robot and then
Slash it
does a
quick. Yeah.
slash,
Yeah.
like, and is like, that's it. And it just like kind of hits the other Pokemon and it's the same animation every time.
Right.
And it's like, you can do more than that.
Yeah.
Not with the budget that they have. And Pokemon is the number one intellectual franchise of all time.
Mm-hmm.
They have the most money of any franchise. They have more than Marvel. They're worth more than Marvel. They're worth more than like any Disney franchise or IP. So there's no way that they can't invest and come up with something that like Monster Hunter Stories 2 did. Now, granted, Monster Hunter Stories 2 way less monsters to Pokemon ratio, right? So they take a more curated time and really focus in. And I would be fine if Pokemon did that, honestly. I don't, there's a big group out there that wants the national dex and wants all 900 Pokemon. I don't care. I'd love a more focused
Yeah.
game that's more animated, that's like, pushes it farther. And then each region, you can do your own thing. And then maybe down the road, they release an expansion with more of the global decks or national decks or whatever. But Monster Hunter Stories 2, awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Like first hour in, you're just like, why isn't
We're,
Pokemon doing this?
right.
Like
Where did
we're
this game come
settling
from?
for Pokemon and we're just letting them do whatever they want. And they're like, some of the number one selling games every year or every time they launch. And Monster Hunter Stories 2 can do this.
Yeah.
Just I love what they're doing with Monster Hunter and Monster Hunter Stories. And that was a fun game. And I'm going
Okay.
back to beat that one for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I need to play it. I've talked to you about that before. I think the game looks great, and actually I'm gonna wait till the Steam Deck comes out so I can play it on my PC.
Yes.
So that's my goal. I know
Yes.
that is a game that I will play on the Steam Deck for sure, and I'll probably play East 9 on the Steam Deck as well.
Yeah, those are just great. I mean, the Steam Decks. I mean, just like we were talking about, I'm finally using the Nintendo Switch kind of as it was designed. Once you get used to that routine, once the Steam Deck comes out, we'll be able to do that with the PC, which is
Right.
going to be insane,
Which I'm
right?
excited for.
You can do a quick half an hour, like before you go to bed, lying in bed on a game, or, where you don't feel like you're chained to your computer desk all the time, or if
Mhm.
you're on the couch with the kids or the wife and they're doing something, you can just like pull up your RPG and keep going, which is what I've been doing a lot of with my Switch recently.
Yeah, that's good. I'm so excited for that. So my number one RPG which is hard because I haven't beat it. This is a difficult one.
Well,
so,
give us your top 2 or 3 here. What are you debating about?
So right now, I got 3 games, 2 of which released this year. So Tales of Arise is a phenomenal game, but the timing of it, I haven't beat the game yet because when I left for work and then I was playing Tales of Arise and I was really into it, and I left for work, came back and Halo had dropped, so it's completely put to the side burner. New World is an MMORPG, and we played the shit out of it in a short time period, and it is not a perfect game. I'm not happy with the way they did a lot of things. However, I definitely got my $40 out of it. Because I just looked the other day, I put in almost 90 hours.
Yep.
Phenomenal, fun game for what I spent my money on. Now, people have their bitches and gripes with the MMO itself, but I had fun during my time there, and I still will probably go back to it eventually. And then my third one, which released years ago, was Fire Emblem Three Houses. I cannot say it enough. If you are into RPGs or tactical RPGs, that game will get you hooked in. For story, combat, everything. Tales of Arise, this combat is outstanding. So I'll probably give it to Tales of Arise just because the story's amazing, the combat's amazing, the cutscenes.
That game also won RPG of the year.
Oh, did it? Okay.
At the Game Awards.
Okay. Okay.
So
see, I didn't know that.
You and the critics are on the same page here.
The story in that game, it's very Japanese, which is you either love it or hate it. But every single cutscene is an anime, which is crazy. Every single character interaction with someone is over the top anime, which I love. It feels like that old school comic cutscene. Like it's phenomenal. But some people hate that. Some people just are completely against it. There's a lot of people that are like, why?
That's fair.
But which I can understand because like when I was growing up, I was like, you're almost like embarrassed that you like cartoons.
Oh yeah,
I guess. But
no, for sure.
Combat's great. My only gripe with the game, and this was every single person's gripe with the game, the characters will not shut the fuck up. So when you're fighting, did I tell you this problem with the game? I can't remember.
I don't know if you did.
Dude, okay. So every time they do a move, they call it. Every single time. And you have a party of 4 to 5.
Oh, no.
So, and ACG again, he said it the best. He's like, it's like an MMA fighter saying spin kick, spin kick, spin kick over and over and over and over. No one fucking does that. So it'd be like, you know, rising wyvern, over and over. And then you got the other person saying it. And you literally have to tune it out. It almost ruins the experience. I've heard people that have reviewed the game on other podcasts, and they say I literally quit because of that.
It can be really distracting, and it can really pull you out of that immersion. Like when we were doing New World, you know, we were leveling process in the world, but
your
freaking healer carry bodies and just yells at, and I'm healing, you know, every 20 to 30 seconds, you know, I keep popping up, and she's just screaming that, and you're just like, I don't hear anybody else's like moves like that. Like
I don't think my guy talked.
Yeah, it was just like this piercing thing, and you didn't hear it. Came out of nowhere. Nobody else said anything like about their attacks or abilities or moves, and you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
you know, so
super obnoxious.
If they should just have it. There's got to be an option in their settings where they can just turn that slider down.
It's
and
all
maybe if they have it, it's just
it's I don't know. People said just turn it to Japanese because then you don't know what they're saying, so you're just zoning it out. But yeah, only gripe with the game so far. Some people said pacing was bad in the game, which I can agree with in some sense, but it didn't bug me because every time you would walk around, you could have a new character interaction if you wanted to. You could talk and get closer and this or that, but that didn't bug me because the more character building I get, the better I think the game is.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tales of Arise, hands down, one of my top RPGs of all time. I just need to get back and play it. It's just, when a game's that good, but when a game that's even better comes out, which we'll probably just talk about right now, my game of the year, hands down, Halo Infinite. No questions, if, ands, or but. 343 redeem themselves. This is the best Halo game I've ever played in my entire life. And I played every single Halo game. Hands down, the campaign's the best so far. I'm 70% done with the campaign. I just looked today, and I've been taking my time with it. The multiplayer is phenomenal. In love with the game. No questions about it. The story, the graphics, multiplayer.
I will say that I'm only 3 or 4 hours into the campaign, but holy crap, I was not ready or expecting the level of story, character building, world building, and graphics that I got. Now I was just playing on the Xbox Series X, so I'm not even on the PC with all the like fidelity stuff turned up. But I was like these
good.
graphics are insane. I was like, and like, I mean, I know they're better on the PC, but everybody who's got an Xbox Series X, like, this is the game that like Sony's going to have to like try and compete with. I don't know what like Destiny used to have better graphics than Halo 5's multiplayer, but they're on the back burner now. They got to step up their game. And
well, dude, this is how it used to be. Halo was a console seller, and now it's not going to be a console seller because you have Xbox Game Pass on PC and stuff. But what it's doing is it's going to force Sony to step their game up. Because
for sure. Well, I think it'll still sell consoles because there's just a market of people who aren't going to build a PC or buy a PC, or can't afford a PC, or their kids, and so their parents aren't,
going to build them a PC.
Yeah, exactly. And just there's a whole nother level of internet bad websites that they can get into. So just having your game console, it's very easy to buy. You don't have to do a whole bunch of research. It's PlayStation or Xbox. And so I think it will sell a lot of consoles, and I think people are going to be coming back to this. And I think the ability with Game Pass is even more of a console seller.
Yes.
Oh, as a parent, I can just buy the Xbox and then pay $10 a month, 15 with Xbox Live included, and my kid can just play all the Microsoft first party games day one release, and I don't have to spend $60 on them. And they can just there's hundreds of other games they can play when they're done with. They're no longer going to be coming begging me, can we get this game, nope, sorry, you're gonna have to play Game Pass, right?
Right. Well, especially when Microsoft whips their what out, and we're like, hey, all Bethesda games are on Game Pass. Every single Microsoft first party Game Pass, you pay $15 a month and you get it all. I've played, even playing Psychonauts 2. I think that's the only game I played on Game Pass this year, but guess what? I felt like I already got my money's worth out of it. And I could have played Halo Infinite on it, but I didn't. I chose to play it on Steam.
Which you're right in doing so, because I just found out that I just found out that you can't transfer. Well, the rumor is that you can't transfer your game save between Steam and Xbox. So if you were going to pick it up on Xbox and then go back on your PC,
for
campaign,
okay,
like the profile doesn't save transfer over to Steam,
right?
Which I don't know how they screwed that one up. Crossplay is
because the multiplayer works.
Multiplayer works fine. Crossplay is pretty standard, and if you download it from the Microsoft Store and play it on PC Game Pass, then it works just fine. So how they didn't import that? There's a few things that 343 I think kind of screwed up on this launch, but overall, 90% of the things they knocked out of the park.
Yeah. And when the game's that good that you can kind of see there's an issue, but you don't care because every single game is going to have issues. It's just how good the game is to shadow those problems. But them taking a year to fix themselves,
thank God they did.
If every
these graphics are just crazy, and they gave them that also, obviously the graphics department and people in charge of that had to go back and do a lot more things. But it also gave all the other departments that are handling multiplayer, that are handling this, they got a whole nother year as well, to really do more to the game and fine tune it. And if you're already taking 4 or 5 years, why not just take another year?
Yeah,
and make it this good.
Best thing they could have done,
for sure.
But yeah, the lore, the voice acting, the Banished voice actors are phenomenal.
We'll talk about this because you and I kind of talked about this earlier. Is that was one of the reasons that, like, when I saw the campaign trailer, that I was not really expecting a great story, was because of the big Banished speech. And I just thought, I was like, okay, this is going to be really dry. Big bad guy comes in, you gotta like fight your way to fight him, and that's it. And he's just like taunting you. But immediately when I got in that game, and there's this story building, and they're building this backstory behind what's going on with all this, and they're building up this confrontation that you're eventually going to have with this guy, I was like, oh, this is much better than I thought it was going to be.
They did a phenomenal job, like actually making you hate Master Chief's enemy.
Yeah,
like I haven't beat the game. I don't know how it ends. I've been doing my best to stick away from all spoilers. YouTube is freaking filled right now. Anytime I go on, they're like, "Oh, Halo Infinite ending," but they did a phenomenal job on it.
Yeah, so that Halo would have been my game of the year pick if I had probably played more of the campaign or been closer to the end. But only having a couple hours in,
you can't really judge it there.
Yeah,
because you just hit open world. Like I'm fully invested in open world, and
I haven't even done like kind of the first mission in the open world. I just went through and saved a bunch of the Marines outposts. Love it. I think the open world concept's great. It's like, oh, there's Marines held down here. You have to go there,
right,
and save them like you would in real life.
Right.
Like, there's been some critics that say that the open world doesn't add any value, but for me, it adds like a real lived-in world and a level of immersion. There's no cut. They're like cutscene that jump cuts to like the next level, because you go to the next level physically. You walk there.
We talked about this weekend when you were over, showing how Master Chief gets from point A to point B and his adventure on the way there is awesome, because it makes you feel like he's an actual person now, not just cutscene to cutscene, jumping into a very linear path. But so
you feel like the Marines are real and lived in, like that you go rescue, because they follow, fully animated. They follow you. They help you. They shoot with you. Like, you're like, in any other Halo game, you don't even care. You just run by the other NPCs, and they literally are sitting there shooting, and I don't even know if they kill anybody ever. They're almost like fake. But like this thing is,
they're actually good in this game. I always take them with me in my Warthog. But side note is, you can't get them pissed off like in Halo 2. Like if you shot them enough, they would turn on you. You can't do that anymore. So what's your game of the year then? I'm curious.
My game, hot take, and this would definitely be controversial. Outriders.
Okay.
Loved it. Obviously they had a lot of technical issues, especially in the beginning, but man, what a good game.
I had it on my list for number 4, actually. Good game.
Just like, I don't like any developer putting a time base on any level that you need to go through, and Outriders Endgame was entirely time based for your score, but I loved it. The way they implemented that just felt right, and it gave you this aspect of these like heroic moments. My brother and I, we kept pushing through, two-manning a bunch of the end game stuff. We went from challenge tier or world tier, challenge tier 9 to 14, just him and I together, two-manning all these different like end game things. And so we do a bunch of the levels, and we'd loot up, and we'd get bronze or silver tier, which doesn't progress you to the next level. So we get a bunch of loot, and then once one of the ones that were faster that we knew we could beat came up, we're like, okay, we're going for it. We're pushing for it, because you had to get a certain level score to unlock the next challenge tier level. And there was times we beat it with a second left, and we're going and we're like, I don't know if we're gonna make it, and then we get in, we're like, yes, like just like there's very few moments in games that will give you that level of enthusiasm, of excitement, and Outriders did it, and they had such a fast-paced action like shooter that like I didn't even know I liked that genre. Like they pulled that from Doom, and like I haven't played much Doom, but like I'm like I think I need to go play Doom because this is what Doom does, and the little Doom I've played, I've been playing it wrong. Is Outriders, you just run and gun, and like that you get kills to heal, and so you just have to keep being really aggressive and pushing forward, which is funny because when I play multiplayer, that's all I do. Right. But then when I jump into a campaign, I like to like slow down and slowly kill other things and take things off, and you can't do that in this game, and it really forces you to just get very aggressive. And the curated small tight levels and battle zones that they have you in that force you to figure out a way to beat those things, I just absolutely fell in love with. My only real gripe with it is because I loved it so much, figuring out these like puzzles in these battle zones, is I was really upset when they punished you for dying and losing on a world tier.
Yeah.
And they just expected you, if you die once, just go down a world tier, beat that level, and then go up a world tier, which was a great system for parts that like you couldn't get through solo or you're having trouble with. You could just drop it down a world tier, get through it, put it back up to the world tier, is just like a select your own difficulty kind of thing, which I really enjoyed. But there were parts where I was really close to beating that zone, and it was like unlocking this puzzle of, okay, what do I need to do? What
positioning, weapons,
yeah. What do I need to do to beat this? And there was many times where I went through and I did beat it like that, and it was very rewarding. And I finally found out why people like roguelikes, because like that's the whole like gameplay loop concept. And you just got a mini roguelike kind of in each zone, and I thought they did that really well. And I had so much fun playing that game, and I just got lost for hours. And I was never falling asleep tired playing that game. Like I've fallen asleep playing like Destiny and Halo, and I get really tired towards the end. You're like, oh, I'm exhausted, I'm getting off. I would play Outriders until 4 a.m. and be like, if you don't look at the clock or like set an alarm, there's just this level of your heart pounding that it's always pressing. There's no lulls in that game. And I thought the story was really, really good. There's some twists in there that like you wouldn't believe, and I love the campaign of that game. I love the end game of that game, and it just really stunk that there were just so many bugs at launch that they couldn't kind of overcome it with a patch or two. And unfortunately, the game-breaking bug where people would lose all their shit. Like it had so much momentum, and they came out with an update recently, and I really want to go back and play it. But I'm really excited for the next expansion of that game and to see where they go with Outriders, because I love that game.
So I played it with you. I think I played like 30 hours with you. I agree with everything you said. The story was very good for being a looter shooter. Square Enix is one of my favorite developers or publishers. Sorry. They took their time with the game. The launch sucked, and if your launch sucks, you've already lost 90% of your community, which is horrible.
They didn't want to come back. I thought they would, and I still think they can get people to come back. But a lot of people stopped or were afraid to play when they like learned that they could lose all their stuff. Even though People Can Fly said, like, even if you lose everything, we're going to get it back for you, and we're going to, make it right. It's just going to take us a couple weeks.
Yeah, but if the game doesn't launch good,
it lost all momentum. Yeah, exactly. It was blowing up everywhere. People were loving it, but then, it crashed after 2 or 3, 3 or 4 weeks. The player base just went from, like, massive success to
none.
Like there was still a community of people playing, but
and there still is. People Can Fly are still pushing updates. I still follow them on Steam. Great game, super fun. It reminded me of, you said Doom, but they the core gameplay reminded me of Diablo,
Yes.
and the fact that you're always going forward and you're using your spells in that game as your majority damage, and then your rifle is an afterthought,
Mm-hmm.
unless you're running a specific build that's like a technomancer
Boosting. Yep.
boosting your assault rifle damage or sniper damage, whatever. Super fun, exhilarating game. I 100% agree. We always talked about this. I'm like, I don't really feel like playing the game, but then you get on that damn game, and then all of a sudden it's 4 to 5 hours later. You're like, I
Yeah.
need to go to sleep, man. Like, and playing with friends was great. The loot grind was great. People are pissed off that the loot numbers weren't good, and the developers boosted the loot numbers, and now legendaries were a lot easier to come by.
Which I agree with. So legendary drop rates needed to be kind of addressed only because they like random rolled,
Mm-hmm.
right? There was stats on them, or the
But
perks were random rolled.
but the perks
Um,
could be anything. So like you could get a perk on a gun that didn't have anything to do with that gun. It was just a wasted roll. So
Correct.
they
So
they didn't loot
when
pool it correctly or
yeah,
stat
when
roll it
the
correctly.
yeah, if they would have done that better, the drop rate I think would have been fine. But the fact that you have to keep getting these like same weapons and then deleting them to unlock the perks that they had, and there was that whole loop of doing that and keep getting like the right roll to add the one perk that you wanted to it to make it a god tier roll. The drop rate just wasn't there, right? Like it just like I think I was challenged tier 14, so I'm one away from like the final 15 in the last level.
Hmm.
And I have 5 or 6 exotics.
Yeah.
So it was just like that.
But they addressed it after we stopped playing.
They did, correct. So really good. They were listening to their community. They were implementing a lot of different things. I think their biggest, and I'm not too upset with that, but I think their biggest downfall was the fact that the tank didn't have any kind of damage boosting rounds. Because of the time-based end game, there was just a lot of the tank became kind of like
There was
useless,
no need
or
for him.
yeah, like it was a lot easier to beat that time if you just had 3 damage dealing people that were
Right.
just maxed out in damage. And like you and my brother both played the tank. They loved it. It was great through the campaign, so much fun. You get to end game and like it's really tough to be involved in doing these things. Now, granted, the survivability was way better and you could revive your whole team and do this other stuff and you could save runs. But when you're also ticking against a clock,
Right.
like
Time-based.
even if you did beat it, you weren't going to get the tier that you wanted, or you weren't going to get the other stuff. And so I told my brother, he was halfway through the campaign, I was like, you know what, you may just, or maybe he beat the whole thing, you may just want to go get a new character. And so he went back and did a pyromancer and then ended up loving the game even more, because it really was the end game was really just geared around damage
output.
It would show you the damage output at the end of the game, right, at the end of each run of your challenge tiers. And so it's just like, it was very rewarding to see your damage go up, and everything was kind of built around damage. And then to run a tank, it was kind of like a counter to how they geared all these other systems.
Right.
So if they would have made the tank just be able to do more damage, or have rounds that just, like the other two classes had abilities that buffed the damage of each bullet, right? And so that was the only class that didn't, and that was the only class that nobody wanted in their party, or didn't want to play. And so that was my only kind of gripe about the game. But everything else, they learned from all the other games in that genre that have failed or succeeded in a certain way. They took those, and I don't know how other companies don't do this, right? Like and EA launched Anthem. It's like they hadn't even heard of any other looter shooters, right? They didn't even like think of, okay, what gameplay mechanics in this genre work, which ones don't, and they did almost everything wrong except for the flying and shooting felt good. But every other system was like fucked up, and they had to do a bunch of updates, and it still ended up collapsing the whole game, and they're not going updating it or coming out with a sequel, which just really sucks. And
Right.
yeah, it's just anytime there's a looter shooter, Marvel Avengers, like it's like they didn't even
Research.
think of other
Try.
of other games
Yeah.
in the genre. And
Their
so
shortfalls.
everybody sees Destiny as, oh, it's going 6 year or 7 years and it's made just millions and millions of dollars. We need a live service looter shooter. And then they don't care to even like research the genre,
Mm-hmm.
and they fall flat on their face and they blow millions of dollars because like it costs a lot of money to make a live service game. Like
Well, if you look at
Avengers
like the
still hasn't made
Borderlands is not live service.
not live service.
It's one of the biggest looter shooters, the most popular, most successful looter shooter. But everyone's like, "Oh, live service makes the most money because you have a constant player community who's trying to buy microtransactions,
Yep, and everything else." But yeah, Marvel's Avengers still hasn't made up their development costs.
Yeah. Well, that game was. Well, you liked the campaign. But,
campaign was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal campaign. But just cut out the live service stuff. They could have saved so much money by not making it a looter shooter live service game, and they would have made a bunch of money.
So speaking of that, that just reminded me of games on my list of want to play. So I'm gonna rattle this off quick before we get done for the night. You just talked about Marvel, Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's on my list too.
They literally did the opposite of Marvel's Avengers. They specifically said we are creating a single player campaign because Marvel's Avengers sucked, and no one liked it besides Dan Rowley. So
there was a lot of critics that said the campaign was very good.
I didn't listen to it, but anyways,
it was just the live service was so awful.
Right.
That, the game collapsed.
So I got that Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. So that is a
is it a Switch game?
No, that is a die-hard CRPG. It's like Path of Exile.
Gotcha.
So very old school, very hard, very complicated. Same genres. Path of Exile.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, not Path of Exile. Pillars of Eternity. I'm sorry, both are polls. Pillars of Eternity. So, Divinity: Original Sins 1 and 2, same genre. You would hate it. I would love it. So I want to play that. The game is super, super hard. People said they spent like 3 or 4 hours just in the character creation because there is so many options. It's actually, you might not hate it because it's very D&D-esque. It's Pathfinder is very similar to D&D. It's a different board game.
Yep.
So
Buzzy plays that.
Oh, really? Okay. So yeah, their new game this year, phenomenal. Lots of bugs right from the rip, but super, super phenomenal game that I want to play. I got Kenna, already talked Guardians of the Galaxy. I need to finish Control on the PC.
Yeah.
Because of all the graphical updates and the ray tracing and the...
you finally got your 3070. You can just turn on all the eye candy.
Resident Evil Village. So
that one, that was nominated and won a bunch of awards as well. And people love that game.
Yeah.
I don't think I would like that game, but really cool that like they were able to keep that Resident Evil franchise still relevant, reinvent it for today's stuff, because it's a beloved franchise. I played Resident Evil 5 and actually liked it, but
that's more action. That's not like the true
less horror.
I played.
That's why I liked it.
So yeah, that was actually the last one I played was 5. I actually own all the new Resident Evil games, so Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake and Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. But they're on my Xbox. But honestly, you can purchase on CD keys for like $4 a piece.
Right.
Besides Resident Evil Village. Well, actually, Resident Evil 7 is on Game Pass.
Okay.
So, and Resident Evil Village is a sequel to 7, or not a direct sequel, but in the same timeline, I guess you could say. So I need to play that. Austin just beat it with his lady and loved it.
That's
so
great.
I was talking to him about that. And then last, Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword.
Yeah, I mean, I just picked up. Finally got my.
Ooh.
Oh shoot! Link's Awakening
There
and
we go.
Skyward
There we
Sword
go.
just came in.
Link's Awakening is a phenomenal Switch game. It is what the
I
Switch should have been played on, or any game
Yeah.
that's made for the Switch. That is the game.
I remember you saying that and how much you love it, and I was
It's
I
a
saw it
remake.
on.
It
Yep.
is a remake. So
Yep.
don't
Nope.
don't get that twisted.
I knew that going in, but I was, just heard great things about it. It was $30 finally, and Nintendo games don't normally go on sale, so I was like picking it up. And then I've just been watching so much stuff on Skyward Sword, going back and forth, and I just picked it up full price. Yeah. So I was just like, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
We'll just say I needed to add some more stuff for free shipping.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But
do you got anything else, man? That is all I have. I think this was an awesome conversation. This was a good podcast. I like this. I hope people made it to the end.
Yep, of course. No, yeah, it was good. Did I have anything else to say?
Stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy out there, boys.
Yeah. So thanks everyone for watching. This was a great one. I wanna keep this going. I'm just excited every single week. So if you stuck around, like, subscribe, leave a comment, join our Discord server. We got like 20 people rolling in our Discord server now. We've been having people play Halo, League of Legends.
If you see us on Halo, feel free to just jump in the Halo chat, and we'll get you in, and we'll switch over to big team. Like none of us care if we're playing rank. We'll finish that game, and I love big team. So
as long as we see it. Austin messaged us last night, and I didn't see it till I got off. I'm like, shit, sorry, man. We were playing rank, so I didn't see it. So Austin, I apologize. But yeah, Discord, the Discord community's been really fun. We've got a lot of new people in there.
Yep, we've been playing League, and Destiny's 30th anniversary is back, so a couple of us have been playing that. So yeah, feel free to jump in, and if you see other people playing, jump in, say hello, and if you're on a different game, you can hop back out. But I love it, guys. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So, well, thanks again, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.